I've been in TV news for more than 25 years. And it might appear that the fast pace of the work is the toughest part of the job.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
Hello, I'm your host, Brian Callahan, and welcome to City Inside Out Council Edition. But one of the biggest challenges about being a journalist these days is trying to reach out to new audiences. Basically, we're talking about making some changes to make some new connections and maybe opening some new doors. Welcome to the world of podcasting.
I started Seattle News, Views, and Brews, a coffee break podcast about local politics in January of 2020.
Yeah, because it's been such a political battle so far.
Yeah,
we need some info here.
That's right. That's exactly where we're going with it. So hopefully that will work out to the best.
My co-host, Kevin Schofield, is one of the smartest guys I know, an independent journalist not affiliated with the city, who writes Seattle City Council Insight.
The podcast for me is a chance to have some back and forth about it.
Kevin says writing his columns can feel like being in an echo chamber, but reaching out with a podcast provides a new interactive way to break down Seattle's many complex political stories.
We take these Gordian knots of big policy issues and find something that we can grab onto. And to me, it's been a great extension of what I do in writing.
I'm your host, Brian Callahan. I'm also a host on Seattle Channel.
I record the podcast on Zoom, then edit it together with sound bites and music on Audacity, the free open source audio app.
Right.
I learned how to do this stuff in college and on my first job in TV 25 years ago. But guess what?
Anyone with a phone, with a microphone, with a computer, they can make a podcast.
That's Ashley Smith, a full-time podcaster who has this advice if you're just starting out.
I think knowing why you want to make a podcast is crucial.
Is it for profit or fun? Will you have guests or not? And what do you want to talk about?
There's podcasts about anything from TV shows to gardening. There's even podcasts about podcasts.
And don't be scared about the tech. Ashley says with Anchor, you can record your podcast on your phone and then have it distributed to Spotify, Apple, and more. Getting a microphone and editing on Audacity is the next level up. But that's probably not the biggest challenge for your podcast.
Getting people to listen to it, it can be kind of hard.
Connecting with an audience is difficult for author Jeffrey Lee Cheatham II, too. Sometimes, even when he's meeting with his readers in person.
Every time I read to elementary school kids, the first thing they think is I'm a Seahawks player. And then when I sit down and pull out a colorful illustrated book, that's like, well, it's like I can see the mind trip that happens.
Jeffrey, interviewed here at the nonprofit Jack Straw Cultural Center for a writer's podcast, started writing 8 years ago. Now this self-taught DIY children's book author has published 4 books, and he's not looking back.
It makes me proud because I'm destigmatizing what Black men should be.
Jeffrey knows publicizing books from authors of color can be a challenge.
I was at high access to sports, so I was going the football player route.
That's why a podcast, a new way to reach out, is so critical.
It's very important when you're a DIY author or self-published author, you got to tap into those sources in order to get your work out there.
Jack Straw has a decades-long history of communicating with diverse voices, and Jeffrey is one of 12 authors selected for their writers program this year, with support from audio engineers like Ayesha Ubeatalaka.
When their voices are amplified, the voices of other people of color, other indigenous people, all of those communities get amplified along with them.
And now, Ayesha says, it's your chance. You don't need a recording studio to podcast. It's time to tell your story, too.
It's a very simple way to let yourself be heard. It's raising everyone up so that we can all sit at the same level, and that's the beauty of it.
So get started on podcasting and let your voice be your guide.
If you have something to say, say it. If you have a story to tell, tell it. And if you have people who want to hear your story, share it.
Thank you very much to our patrons, and thank you very much for listening.